So the first thing you're probably going to want to do once you've got a new NAS is to go into Control Panel and start setting up some users. There's a few ways you can do that. You can click on the users there, or you can navigate through the menus on the left. Once you've selected users, the list of users comes up and you're going to have an administration user there by default, and you can then go on and create a few other users. So just to walk you through the whole exercise, let's create a user here called Demo. We put in the password. Your email can be any email. It can be obviously an email, for example, at Gmail or Hotmail or whatever outside email is appropriate for this person. I'd put a personal email in here because it's not going to be available to anybody outside your network, and it then means that any messages that the system wants to send to that person goes directly to the email that they're checking frequently. If you are going to go through some of the setup exercises to have your own email server hosted on your NAS, then you may choose to put in here the domain name that you're going to use if you're going to set up your own domain, which is a possibility. There's good reasons to do that, but we'll get into those as we get through to that topic. The next thing we could do is just press create, and that will create the user, and then we can go in and create a user group and assign it to it, or we can click right here and pick one of the available user groups to add them to. But let's do it the other way around, for the long way around, if you like, for the time being. Press create, then go into user groups, create a new group. Let's call this user group home. So this group is a name, just any old name with any old description or group name assigned to it, that I'm going to use to signify the people or the resources rather that are normally used by everybody in this home network. I might create at a later stage another one called guest, another one called colleagues. Who knows how many I might choose, because the advantage of a group is that you can then assign that to different resources in the home or different resources on your NAS and on your network, and then give people differing levels of access. By levels of access, I'm referring to adding, changing, and deleting information. Also inquiries. So the level of access is going to be managed by you. What's really important is, though, that this level of access is going to propagate across all the facilities of the network on the NAS. So that's not just file sharing, but it's FTP, web, tunneling, VPN, websites, web services. There's just so much, but it depends on these early decisions. So my recommendation is that you start off slowly, create a few users and a couple of groups, and see how it goes, and expand the groups and the scope of your control gradually as the need arises. So we've got our new group. I could press create and then come back in later and assign users to it, but let's go and pick up our demo user from the prior step. Not there. That's because they're on the next page. Demo, assign the demo user, press create, and we now have our demo group created. Sorry, our home group created. And if we go back in to confirm, we can see that the demo user has been applied as a part of the group. That wouldn't be wise. Normally you probably would sign your administrator in to have access to that group as well. Next step for this topic is some folders. So if we go down to shared folders, these are the folders on the NAS. Now, the NAS has a file system. It's a file system not unlike the one you have on your Windows PC with a C drive, but because it's a Linux machine, it works a little differently. It has this initial root or originating path called the root file system, which is referred to as /. Now with Linux, there's not a lot of difference to Windows. So if I was to go / here, I'm going back to C drive. Well, in the same way, if you were to navigate back to /, except sorry, it's / instead of a backslash, you would end up in the very root of all of the disk storage system. Now, inside many Ubuntu operating systems, the share folder is used as the folder from which other systems are installed. So, in the case of QNAP, the share folder is created, and then underneath that, the system creates subfolders for all the software applications and data you install. Under the share folder, we can create folders for disk drives that we're going to allow people to access on our network, for example. But we don't see it as a share folder inside the QTS operating system. We see it just as the shared folders. So here we see, for example, a folder called computers, another one called web. If I create a new one called demo, folder, press create, unbeknownst to me, that folder is actually being added under share. So it would, inside the NAS itself, now maybe this is a bit too much information to be sharing in these introductory videos, but I thought it was important to understand that from a backup and recovery standpoint, the way QTS is organizing it is very clever, really. All the demo data, all the demonstration data, all the application data, all your programs, all your files that you store are being organized under the share folder. In the event of you wanting to set up a backup and a recovery regime, the only thing you need to be concerned with is making sure that the information, in fact everything under the share folder, is backed up to a suitably safe backup repository. And in the event of a catastrophe, something going wrong, perhaps the NAS is damaged, dropped from a building, water damage, any number of things can happen, the new NAS will be installed and can be installed, and it will install its files under the root file system, and the share folder will be completely empty, ready for you to restore all the information from your original NAS under the share folder to reinstate your system. Now, there are obviously a few other things you need to keep in mind to make sure that you've backed up, which are covered in the videos under backup and recovery, but it certainly makes the disaster recovery process a lot easier. If you create a drive, for example, if I was to create a folder for a drive I want to call drive N, so that when I'm on my Windows PC, I can see it as another drive. Here, drive N. So if we were to do that with this QTS system as it stands here today, I would go into here, create a shared folder, call it drive N. I call it anything I like, really, but for simplicity I'll call it drive N. I'll change my privileges, can read and write to that. Let's make everybody able to use it. So click on everybody. Press create. Now, if I go to my Windows folder and I go, which is QNAP 01 in this case, is the name of this demonstration NAS. Press enter. I will be able to see drive N, drive T, and all the other drives, and then watch this. Just right mouse click, map to a network drive, type in or select N in this case, reconnect it, log in, press finish. It'll ask me for my credentials, and I can immediately see the subfolders which are now drive N off this local PC, and are also, if I go back to the QTS console and use its file manager and look at drive N, which is there, all these same folders are exact same as the ones that I can see over here, whoops, under Windows. So just recapping where we've been, we have created a user, then we've created a group, and we called this group home network, and we added our user to that group. Then we created a shared folder, and we mapped our shared folder as a folder on the PC.